Hello there. We're looking at the Great Depression today. And just like we said with the causes of World War One, there's never one thing that sets off this huge event in history, right? There's always a series of things that build up, and then there's that spark. So we talked about in World War One, there were all these other causes, and then the spark was the assassination. It's a similar thing with the Great Depression. We think of the stock market crash. That's the Great Depression. But there's all these other things that are happening before that. And we saw some of those things already in the 20s. So one of the things we looked at in the 20s is how the economy changes. It shifts from an economy based on capital goods like steel and oil and becomes an economy based on consumer goods like cars and radios, appliances. When the 20s began, most people don't have these things, so they all go out and buy them. But at most they're buying 2 radios, they're only buying 1 car, 1 refrigerator, but the manufacturers continue to produce those goods at the same rate by the end of the 20s that they were at the beginning of the 20s. So this is that first point in your outline, overproduction and underconsumption. They're producing too much stuff, and people aren't buying it as much anymore. And you can see how that's going to start to snowball, because then when people stop buying those goods, right, businesses, they might cut prices, that doesn't work, they're going to start laying off people, those people then can't pay the bills that they've created with all the things they've purchased, and so then they're going to lose a job, then that's going to affect the banks, and that's going to affect credit, and you can see how this just snowballs. A similar thing is happening in agriculture. Again, there's people are buying radios out there and cars, but there's also lots of new farm implements that people have been buying in farms, and they can't now pay those bills because during World War One, farmers were farming for the world, right? World War One, Europe was all torn up with trenches, and so they couldn't farm. And we were supplying food for the world. But now, as we get further into the 20s, Europe's starting to be able to farm what they need. And so those farmers, though, are still producing at the same rate by the end of the 20s that they were producing at the beginning of the 20s. So that overproduction, underconsumption is also happening in farms, too. So, all segments of society are going to be touched by this. And then there's this really unstable world economy. It's a little easier when I can kind of draw this part on the board, but I think I can help you visualize it. When the war ended, Germany was required to pay $33 billion to England and France, particularly for survivors, basically the cost of war. The peace laid the blame of the war on Germany, and so they're required to pay $33 billion. They can't pay that, and they aren't paying it. And France is starting to say maybe they're going to go to war. And so what we say in the 20s is, whoa, 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 we don't want war. So we tell France and England, don't worry, we're going to loan the money to Germany. So we're going to loan money to Germany so that Germany can pay back England and France. And remember, England and France had borrowed money from us. So now England and France can pay back the United States. So again, here we've got the money. We're going to give it to Germany. Germany's going to give it to England and France, and then England and France is going to give it to us. We're kind of robbing Peter to pay Paul, but it works as long as our economy is stable. But when that stock market crash happens and then our economy becomes unstable, the already unstable world economy shatters. Among the most immediate thing to happen is people lose their jobs. You're going to watch a clip on the stock market and then just a clip on the conditions of the Great Depression. But in terms of unemployment rates, the worst year of the Depression was 1932, and it's estimated that 25% of the United States is unemployed. That's probably underreported, a little like employment numbers are probably unreported now, because in the Depression what would happen is people would be working less hours, but they'd still be reported as employed, or they might have just given up looking for a job. And so those unemployment numbers of at least 25% probably are still too low. All right, I'm struck maybe by some of the parallels there with that conversation and what some people are experiencing today. All right, if you have any questions, you can leave those in the discussion board at the within this module. Take care.